Una all member constituency 110. I mean, just yesterday, you could feel the tension. I mean, a lot of people were upset about what happened at constituency 110. A particular SLPP aspiring MP do some things that were really, really unacceptable. We talked about it. We make no apologies for bringing this thing to light because it's totally uncalled for. We know so we get arguments back and forth with what this particular woman do. He accused an ex-president. This is serious. I don't know why they not launch a counter claim, a counter libel suit against him, for trying to smear the reputation of an ex-president. But probably that might come later. We don't know. These things might be in the making. But the propaganda from this aspiring MP was so cheap. And apart from that, she also conducted torture inside in premises which will have warranted an investigation ASAP by the Sierra Leone National Police. Because the torture was visible, she was there, she supervised it. Tortured a young man that every one of us, our hearts bled for that young man. We feel say he died. Luckily that body they alive, Ibrahim and Kolam. So this woman tortured him, and this woman I want to go inside an honorable house. And this is quite telling on the part of the government, how the government conduct itself as such. And even before that, some of these tensions, there was so much thuggery involved. The APC head office, how police go behave as such, a national police paid by the taxpayer then. Yes, one of your citizens then they protest, you not like that. And because of security issues, you get for contain them, and then you contain them and you disproportionately use force against them after you don't corner them inside a small square meter of space. And we continue to see that constituency 110 by this woman where supervise a torture, lie on an ex-president, made up a fabulous story where not many people will buy it, even inside Ion circle. Claim that he owes at some point when he make those charges, he owes now been one of the most protected, because in there then, apart from the president, she had the next 2 to 3 most powerful people in the country in person of the vice president, the chief minister, were all at her residence when he make them claim that he owes been there under siege. Pardon me, that people in a stony house. They're about for penetrating house and cause mayhem and the rest of it. Imagine where the vice president is, where the chief minister is, the 2 most powerful men in the country after the president of the republic. Then ludicrous claim than the way that woman they make. Yet, as we speak today, many months after, remember say this thing happened a long time ago in August. Just count how many months. As we speak today, no justice for Ibrahim, the young man who was tortured. Constituency 110 has seen have been watershed moment because the build-up to that election day, that's what we're seeing. The explosion of violence and thuggery that we saw many decades ago. In fact, this one, it seemed to get a new twist to run. A new twist. A polling station attacked. Then with democracy attacked. Ballot boxes thrown left, right, and center, damaged, stepped upon, with democracy stepped upon, impugned on the rights of the people. In broad daylight, in camera, there was no fear. And why there was no fear? Because whoever they perpetuate this crime has got political connections. This could only be the one reason. Whoever, or the group of people that were perpetuating this crime, heinous crimes they were. These are treasonous crimes. A people's ballot stepped upon. A ballot house or a voting room damaged. People attacked. And that been caused for let them revoke the vote or the result. We are from experts not be necessary at the time. But we saw this in broad daylight in real time with people them whose faces we know. Some of them attached to government. And you get for ask to this day, what has been done? So if you are serious enough, Papa government, what has been done? Is it all rhetorics that we hear? Is it all hot air that we hear? Because justice delayed is justice denied. Then precedent and the way we see in terms of the stampede will take place inside a voting house. The threats, the political intimidations, the violence, the thuggery. It should not go unanswered. Actions must be seen taken on your part. This is where transparency, responsibility, good governance, the rule of law becomes applicable. In the absence of this, it is a serious problem, and this will come to haunt us forever. Because you will be held accountable, you will be asked. If you're not asked today, you will be asked tomorrow. If you're too big today to be asked, then tomorrow you will have to answer these questions. And these tapes are being documented. These documents are being documented. They are not going to go away. So the best thing I can do is to appeal to government to organize some sort of an inquiry in which heads have to roll. To avoid future consequences, something has to be done. You can't just wish this away because it's not going away. So constituency 110 still remains fresh in our memory. And every one of us, all the lovers of democracy, it's not going to go away. That was the day, one of the days that Sierra Leone was shamed. We know we've seen this in other countries. And I'm not trying to equate this with other countries that we've seen it, because I take our country to be special. I take our country to be unique. We fought a bloody civil war for over a decade. Many lives lost. Many limbs hacked. The best we could have done or we could do is to respect the memory of those that lost their lives in that carnage for over 10 years. The best we could do is to respect those who are still walking the streets of the capital of the country with hacked limbs as a consequence of that civil war. What should have come out of the dust, the ashes of that civil war is civility, it's respect for human rights, it's the rule of law, it's democracy for the people, by the people, with the people. Anything short of that, government, you know you are responsible. Nothing more and nothing less. So we move on to the month of September, I believe. Yes, it's the month of September. In September, I mean, the stories are sort of real. And as soon as you look at the headline and then it comes flowing all over again, una member waiting the ACC scribe, the ACC boss, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala, a man who has gone down the history books of Sierra Leone as the man who brought shame to that country by parading teachers. Hear me out. By parading teachers. And not parading big one them, they allege big one them. And this now based on allegation. Not that these people were tried, allegedly, for exam malpractices. Teachers were paraded through the streets of Freetown. Now major landmarks like Cotton Tree. And imagine how Freetown is packed. Teachers. I mean, at the time again, we do a program on that. It was such an ill-thought process, but like I say, everything we are divided on. You have those that supported it, and you have those who were against. And those of us who were against it thought that this practice was uncouth, was barbaric, was uncivilized. And bear in mind that the ACC boss, he knew this. He knew that the process was barbaric, it was archaic, uncivilized. That's why he said the reason why he did it was to shock the conscience of a nation. But hear me out. It did shock the conscience of the nation, but in a different way than he expected. Because imagine teachers. I mean, I get for think what do you think say Ibini do? The way how people they see teachers is a different way how they see politicians. Had he done that to politicians, probably the supporters of that politician or politicians would have felt differently about it. Not teachers on a national level. These people belong to organizations, both locally and internationally. For go ridicule them, parade them in such a fashion. Now a one old noble profession na in ACC boss, Mr. Ben Kaifala, do so. He took a chance, he took a gamble, and he didn't pay well. Now only in a country like Sierra Leone and other countries like ours, in which after that kind of debacle, you still survive your post. Because the error in action is so monumental that the equivalence for repair the damage done was for his head to roll. I know people call for his head to roll, but others say no, but because why? They took it lightly because it's in Sierra Leone. You persecute teachers on the basis of allegation, match past them, wait for teacher picking them. Now, what's contingency plan where you be not make for replacement teacher in a classroom? Did you? I'm sure you did not. So probably you feel say back where you don't molest them, you don't parade them, then you take them back and carry them go in a classroom. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, think about this twice back. Really think about this twice. That if that was the case, either way, you may make contingency plan because if you don't humiliate them as such, although you don't find them guilty by a court of law, but by your own court, you say allegedly, on that basis, then you decide for parade them, then maybe they're not going to the classroom again. Contingency plan, or not been just a shock and awe campaign, then they will go back to the class after the humiliation. How will they have fitted in that class? How would they for be performed at that class again? Waiting for be left in terms of respect from the very students. So waiting the student then for being gained from, such people them again. We can ask all them questions then they now, but we now know that the action itself was wrong. And the fact that Mr. Kaifala be one shock the conscience of a nation in your own way, we go help him accordingly for fed corruption so that he send a message say we're not going to tolerate this. He went for the wrong set of people. And questions were asked now. Why you not go for the right set of people then? Why you not go for politician then? So you see the things that we say? So some people seem for the above. And other vulnerable people them like poor teacher them, they seem for the below. So they want to the above, then continue for thrive. We will read a name here and there, but somehow they survive. And then poor teacher them, now then they're able for match pass, humiliate them in public. I mean, you could have easily done that to a politician, but what's happy, you not get the guts for do that? Only on a poor, lowly teacher? And you get so many names that way you don't call? So was it because now the president in flagship program that was being affected by then action and they will prompt you action, Mr. Kaifala? However, the president being there for get involved because they talk when they go on now and the president get involved. And most of us thought that the president did the right thing and in timing being proper. The president apologized in behalf of an ACC scribe. He apologized to the nation. He apologized to the teachers and the organizations where they belong. And I think the president in action been timely, it been warranted, been called for, and I think it's been generally accepted and it helped for calm the atmosphere down where normally a president supposed for do. For that action there alone, personally, I commended the president. I had a program in which I commended the president because, of course, I spoke against Mr. Ben Kaifala on the action. Immediately we do our friend say there is going to be a backlash from this. The teaching profession is a noble profession and he attached almost now every oath And all them school picking and they, I think, you know, the calculation again back me just wrong. All them school picking and they, then papa and then mama them or uncle or brother them, now either teacher them or then they benefit out of that system they. So the calculation be wrong. So the president in interjection, in interference, in apology was quite necessary. Really, really necessary. So we tell the president a very much thank you for that. Remember another story, Dr. Richard Conte, a senior official inside the APC erstwhile government of Ernest Bai Koroma, was among many people way the ACC been called in terms of corruption. Dr. Richard Conte na been one, former chief of staff, former minister of trade and industry. There was an allegation of corruption against Dr. Conte, and that had to do with some alleged $11 million fund which he received allegedly from the, not allegedly, he did receive $11 million fund from the Japanese government, and he said that it is said that he cannot account for the said amount. So therefore, he was detained by the ACC pending some investigation, but he refutes the allegation. And I've been fortunate for interview Dr. Richard Conte right on this platform, and we'll be able to find out from exactly what the charges were about, what about this 11 million, and he actually explained in total. You see, sometimes we argument then can be relatively cheap, and go appeal those that will listen, or those of us that are listening, for spread this message, so we will raise the level of argument. The alleged $11 million, or where you go outside bilaterally, if they go give you fund, not your money where they put inside drum or briefcase and then pack and give you, here for let you fly away with them. That was some of the allegation that was levied against Dr. Richard Conte. This now money then we go through the system. So there's a process of accountability. You know, there's a famous saying here in the West: follow the money trail. If you investigate money, corruption, and the rest of it, or person, just follow the money trail. I make everything on a paper, black and white, pen and banking and the rest of it. So you're able to follow that paper trail there, and you're able to arrive at some conclusions. So if the money was given to Dr. Richard Conte during a visit to Japan, where he signed a bilateral agreement with the government of Japan, in which 11 million was given to the people of Sierra Leone, that would have gone through the system, through a banking system. So easily, we could have just gone through the banking system and go try for take paper and they, instead of calling people or waiting for hearsay, they say, not in the 21st century. Because at some point, now so we after accusations have been made against senior government officials, former government officials, will begin say, let people and come people away know something. So if I've been borrow my friend in car and I didn't one neighborhood and I drive and come, my neighbor be see me while I drive the car, come, let go to the ACC boss and go tell and say, oh, that man, at some point he been drive some Jaguar, but where's the Jaguar now? Seriously? Really? Anyway, we need for up, we really need for up we ante. Another thing will happen again, you know, back in, was it early August, yeah. Now the rainfall. Remember that heavy rainfall will come? See, that's how we quick for forget. It almost bring memories of the August 14, 2017, when that thing happened, that mudslide happened, where hundreds of people died. Heavy rainfall early August. A lot of Freetown been there underwater. So again, this fall on the back of the Freetown City Council. We make Yvonne Sawyer re-emphasize imposition on clearing the sewage system, put emphasis on dirty disposal. Una bring una dirty, una make sure una put them at the allocated places, wrap them up nicely. For a fee, we will always can take them and go dispose of them nicely. Keep your gutter clean. That was the word out there. Okay? So, President Bio and the teacher scandal, he apologized unreservedly. So let me see whether we're able to move on. Before we move on to October, another major story almost slipped my mind. Remember, the license of multiple mining companies were revoked. This included the Tonkolili and Marampa mines. Okay? Unfortunately, I not get me co-host because we've been discuss 1 or 2, 3 things them on this particular retrospect today. But the consequences and the ramifications are the action where the government take. Of course, again, there were divisions. We come up with a program in which we thought that it was necessary for the action to be taken because most of the deals that were signed were underrated. But if new deals were going to be signed, it should reflect the time. And the government and people should stand for benefit from whatever new deal. So this platform being back the suspension of their license. But I remember fully well, there were friends and contributors to this program who say, well, not at this time, because the government is desperate for money. So therefore, they cannot do this at this time because in doing so, they will put a lot of people out of work. And then also therefore consider, the position where they in, because these people can easily leave and go other places because we don't see them with other companies like the fishing companies we've been in the country. Because of higher taxation, when this government come to power, few of them companies and they left. Then go to countries like Liberia and Gambia, where they are thriving because the taxation there is kind of low. So these were the arguments, for and against. However, the government still pin, and the story go later come out where involve the chief minister. But we go come to that shortly. So that's take a look at. Let's take a look at November. Yeah. September. Okay, we've looked at October. Let's take a look at October. Okay. Remember, President Bio was invited to Russia, USA, ago for attend the Africa Economic Forum Summit. And that summit, the purpose of that summit was to look at the current state and prospect of Russia in relationship with African countries then. For look at potential areas of investments and helping Africa, which is technical and cultural cooperation. So the president was invited by Vladimir Putin. This showed the significance of the continent once more. This continent has always been of huge significance, but the significance is overwhelmed by mismanagement, corruption on the part of our leaders, and the superpowers them, the Western nations them, then insatiable demand for waiting we get, and the way how they want acquire waiting we get, and the meddling inside we business all the time, and using then same colonial measures of divide and rule, separating us. But the continent in every aspect, as I can see, is on the rise. As we can see, 8 nations don't already move away from the CFA zone, which now the money where France they use when they don't use, where they pay percentage for since independence, that now over 70 years, and still paying colonial tax to the former colonial master, which is France. Now they don't decide, say enough is enough. 8 countries don't come and say, well, we need for begin use we own currency, the euro. Listen, I get discussion with financial experts, economic experts, budget experts. Of course, everybody get a own, but waiting more domineering at our conversation day was the difficulty for African countries in terms of, or in respect of the position that they've taken. And how difficult it will be that 1 or 2 of the experts there say it's not going to work, at least not in the short term. But yeah, of course, this, first of all, we get to look at whose this they come up from. From a nationalistic point of view, this is long overdue. You can't get a continent of 1.6 billion people still heavily reliant on handouts from others. We need to forget we own monetary currency. For now, then peg the echo as against the euro, of course, for get stability in the meantime, and again for start from somewhere. And business for African countries will be good because if you transverse, remember I said this day in consonance with ECOWAS, the policy of freedom of movement. Yeah, and the one currency, one passport, so that you're able to do business. For able for common, I go all the way to Abuja and go do my business day from Abuja to Dakar, from Dakar to Freetown, from Freetown to Monrovia, and do business in the Pong na Ivory Coast, the Ghanaian capital, Ghana, Accra. She's doing quite well. So there is going to be a storm before the calm, and it's not going to be easy. But I think this is something that they've thought through for many, many decades. It's not the first time they are attempting it. They've spoken about this many a times, and this, in fact, goes back to 50 years. So these projects are very old. You go back to Kwame Osagyefo Nkrumah, we talk about, uniting the entire continent. When you talk about uniting the continent, it means both in monetary terms, that means we forget the same money, and the freedom of movement for people. 1.6 billion people, not too small money than they. Other people, and they make use of them, and they come, they, decide how they want for them, we do business with them, give we business, give we money, trust we at greater interest, with condition as well, say we for open we market to them, when then they do the same, and buy we product them the way how we want, how they want them. I mean, all this at some point has to stop. So as the power continue for diminish, the other side in power will continue for increase. And as the world now become a multipolar world instead of a unipolar world, which America enjoyed for over 20 years before the rise of power in the East and the resurgence of Russia, the power dynamics has changed. And Africa only stands for benefit if they understand this power dynamics, and I think they do. We just need the committed leaders and the commitment on our part, and then no can fiddle with us again. I think say now we for remain focused, and this is definitely going to happen. But this summit where President Bio attend, even though not been positive summit because we talk about cultural cooperation, political and economic exchange, in WEF, the First Lady managed for upstage the president, which being respect. The First Lady, I think she was very excited that a pulling camera out, that in itself a violation of protocol. These are the things that we're talking about. Therefore, forgive a very beautiful First Lady for that, the excitement. Because she could clearly hear in voice and in background commentary that she was excited at the prospect of where she was. This was massive, okay? And waiting, even they say. Even, you're focused on your husband on the back at some point where they waka and the rest of it. But that was a negative. We have to call it as it is. Protocol was violated. She should not have done this. Her office rises far above, what she did. But lesson learned, I'm sure she's not going to be doing that anymore. So let me look at September, quick, October, September. Back again to the First Lady. Remember the UN General Assembly Conference, Security Council Conference in New York. The First Lady was one of the people who were there, along with many other African First Ladies. And the First Lady in her flagship program is called Hands Off Our Girls, because there is a general belief that girls, of lower age, not yet at the age of consent, have been manipulated, have been abused. Violence towards women is on the rise. So hence the First Lady came up with this massive initiative called Hands Off Our Girls. People love the name. It's kind of catchy, and the intentions are noble and bold. We're watching it as it plays out. So we know say the First Lady go New York, and it been get a high-profile platform there for go table this initiative, along with other powerful First Ladies of other countries. Yes, Sister Awa Kabo, hello, my dear, and welcome to the program. And go talk to other First Ladies where then go project this thing here down na the UN General Assembly. So that was a good place to say the First Lady go launch them. And this campaign is on. Again, in ifs and buts, there are allegations out there of the kind of money that's been allocated to the office of the First Lady in terms of this campaign, monies that are coming from both within and without, and they reflect on the campaign itself. Well, that is arguable, and we go seek documents to that effect. We do have difficulties when we try for seek documents, but we're not going to relent. We go continue for ask, because when we broadcast, with the little access we get, we try for make objective productions or broadcast every time we do this. We'll not get anybody now for talk to regarding this, but we go pursue this regarding the allegations that are being made at the campaign Hands Off Our Girls, which is led by the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Her Excellency Madam Fatima Bio. And the president also was at the assembly where he spoke. He attended the UN General Assembly. I think this is the second one that he's attending. The first one obviously was full of stories. We're not going back there. We've moved on. This one has its own stories as well. But the bottom line is the president was in the assembly and he spoke. And there is something that I want to commend the president for. As a Pan-Africanist, the president at that world body, in front of his colleagues, in front of the world, he praised one of the astute, stalwarts, giants, pillars of African Pan-Africanism, a man who throughout his life fought for the emancipation of the continent. I'm talking about the late Robert David Mugabe. President Bio used that dais, that powerful pulpit, to deliver his message. And part of the message, or in that message, contained a tribute to the late Robert Mugabe. The president spoke well of him and wished that his soul rest in peace. Thus accepting the kind of person that he was, what he stood for. Many a times, he himself stood on that dais at the United Nations and spoke. And whenever he spoke, was against imperialism, hegemony, colonialism, neo-colonialism. And President Bio saw that, respected that, and spoke about that. And for that, I want to commend the president. That was well said. And that was in November, I believe. Okay. Also, before we forget, ladies and gentlemen, remember the Kasiri local by-elections. That's Ward 210. Very important in many respects because it's one of the important wards by virtue of its occupant. Without the occupant, of course, it's still a valuable constituency like the others, but a high-profile one because of its representative, Honorable Dr. Kande Kole Yumkela. We believe on the 23rd, I believe that's when the elections were held, the by-elections were held. Even though Dr. Kande Yumkela had advised about potential unleashing of thuggery and violence and intimidation at this particular ward, we can say that action was not taken to avert what this honorable member of parliament had said on national radio and television. Because the reason why we say this, nothing was done in terms of providing security. And it seemed like this had been a routine in terms of elections, by-elections after by-elections. We saw the same thing unfold with the same perpetrators over and over. Couple of by. So Dr. Kande Yumkela went on to say on national TV and radio that this, according to information that he has, this is what is going to happen. The government should have taken that as its responsibility to protect the ward. But it never did. And lo and behold, this particular ward came under attack. And Dr. Kande Yumkela and Dr. Bright were attacked. They became victims of this attack. And we saw the picture lines. We heard Dr. Kande, we speak about him back. But of course, the responsibility lies squarely in the hand of government. We, even though intelligence was provided, say, this is what we're expecting from a member of parliament, nothing was done to stop that from happening. So that went on to happen. Again, we now fast track this thing just before we go to the month of December. Yeah, another major story was the cabinet reshuffle. Okay. We know say the president conducted a cabinet reshuffle in early November. And we know say that cabinet reshuffle may be overdue. Normally with the government, when a government is formed from the beginning, you pay off those who helped you, into power by either allocating positions, to them and various kind of positions. But after a while, of course, they have to be replaced. And sometimes those people that are given those positions at the onset might not be the solid, the solid team that the president might need. But of course, political dispensation, blah, 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 and the rest of it, that's the way it works. After a while, president will have to do house cleaning and will bring in strategic people for strategic positions. So I'm not saying that this is what happened. Potentially, this is what will have happened. And people out there will know this better than I do. But we know say 4 ministers them got sacked. We know say 2 ministries were created. And that's gender affairs and the environment. We know say a new embassy in Turkey being open. And we highlight this because despite the measures where the government say they take for alleviate poverty, suffering, curtailing spending, plugging loopholes, yet then it creates ministries and creates executive bodies. All are budgeted because they have occupants, and then occupants there and therefore pay them. And whole embassy is open. And where does the money come from, to sort all of this out? In terms of the embassy, well, if the embassy is strategic, and this is the question I will ask, because I still try to find out the relationship between we and Turkey. I know say we get a relationship. What's the strategic benefit of the relationship that we need to open an embassy during difficult times? This is not something we're very much interested in, because for vindicate the government, we need for understand why or what is the thing between Turkey, the net benefit between Turkey and Sierra Leone. Trade? How much is the trade worth between us? What else? So we go like for know this, because we can't just be creating offices just for reward with political friends, people that we help with at some point or the other, at the expense of the public purse, while at the same time we say we try for do savings. Then of course that will be two-mouthed person. You just say one thing on the one side and you just say something else na the other side. Another major story again we catch with attention. Remember we'll talk earlier on about the iron ore suspension, the company suspension for mining iron ore, both the Marampa and Tonkolili mines. Okay, so sometime in November we know say the chief minister get caught up in some corruption scandal. And this corruption scandal, it be serious. Yeah, it be very serious, because it involves none other than the chief of staff the chief minister of the republic, and a very, very powerful man, but very, very close to the president. Very close to the president. Every respect, and everybody know this. So this not to different talk that we person don't know. So allegation of a $1.5 million dollar was made against the minister, and this come about as a question where a journalist doing his work asked. Confusion around waiting at the exact amount, whether na 1.5 or na $500,000. And what we understand is this money being paid into different parts. In other words, then defer the payments into parts. So not a one go. So the idea that a total sum of money be involved, but when the payments were being made, they were made in chunks. that makes some people be one capitalize on the fact that when the accusation was made, the money called is not the money, the kind of money that's involved, or maybe they reflect at the account at the time. So therefore, they try for capitalize on that, for muddy the waters, and immediately begin for blame the journalists. As usual, pull in normal clothes where he can wear and put red clothes on them. In other words, he's an APCN or APC associate, and the report where they give is in behalf of APC. In other words, reason is thrown out of the door. So was the minister involved in corruption? Was the allegation correct? Was the procedure, because I hear my other friend tell me say na the procedure, the man ask him na via WhatsApp. But me and the man get via WhatsApp, so we can communicate via WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is a communication tool. It's a communication tool. He say, okay, the man is too big for let you communicate with him via WhatsApp. And I say, what is wrong with that? It might be informal. And if you're informal, you're not compelled for respond. So if I write on through WhatsApp, only the first thing I need because I write on through WhatsApp. So he ordered the police for come for me. And look at the way the police self-behave. And sometimes you get for ask whether or not the police. I can fear for lump the police into such actions where at the direction of some big man, one police or two police or five police can just go and go act. So where the police hierarchy, have they become so politically tied that they can't take action and voice out, some dissociation with the way how some members of Enforce, they conduct themselves, that then go arrest the CID, the police go arrest the journalist, and then go pretend as if they want some work done, and ask the man out, say, then forget the work. I blame the journalist for that part day. You can't do the work. They say you forget to inside your car. They will have arrested him anyway. But now deployed and they will then go with. That's kidnapping. That's not policing. Okay? So they accuse the minister, the chief minister, that he involved in this allegation. And the chief minister say the Echo Bank where they accuse and say now the money passed through. We begin a boku story. The story so mix up and box up that it be just hard for fishing out the facts from the fallacies. But sometimes it's deliberate because we've seen many of this before. As they make allegation, before you look, then get people that will just they saturate the air, the social media with all kinds of story. But we've known them now, not personally, but we know the story. Then we'll begin to see them. It's deliberate. There's a squad out there. As soon as something come up, where you try for verify and the rest of it, where you go look, they don't muddy the waters. And then it's just hard for differentiate the real story from the other, the fake one. Professor Francis' story at the time say that he gets an existing account na the alleged bank. The public only come for notice when the journalists, where they want to say the lie, bring this to light. And the fact that Professor Francis gets a transactional relationship with this particular bank in question, it don't make him worth for let the police or the ACC interfere and begin for investigate. So you see the power dynamics we talk about, and this is just difficult. Because I remember I follow Professor Francis Ben Kaifala for a while. Still a follower him though. And look at some of his pronouncement at the earlier stage them, watching body language, he look very committed. But say it will be a difficult task. Some of his pronouncement and the way he make is like in go follow corruption wherever corruption lead them. Whether or not the people and we employ them, he not go hesitate for good path day. He said it. But many months on, the question arises, why has he not pursued those paths that has come up? So where this one self happened with the journalist, we say in chief minister, na Ben Kaifala na he writes to straight away, text him, say, na so they happen. So instead of in the deal with the chief minister on the allegation being made by the guy, Ben Kaifala, who was out of the country at the time, send message to the boy for take documents then for present and to on the allegations where he don't make. Whereas the boy make and clear, Jallo, we might have him one day on this platform for an interview. He make and clear that, listen, We've been through this before, in which I produce documents them of an allegations made to you, nothing was done, and we know what happened because we know who that be involved. I'm not willing to go down this path again. If not anything, let's just do it within the public domain. So anyway, this is what happened, and this is not the kind of thing where they go on in the country where we have to be a little bit careful. Okay, we talk about the embassy, and we remember how beneficial it is, the Turkish embassy to the people and the government of Sierra Leone. So finally, we move into the month of December before we close the program. In December, we know say boku thing happened, and I will just gloss over them quickly. We now know say officially Sam Sumana don't join the All People's Congress. Again, if my co-host been there, we've been on discuss the ramifications, because this is not something where you're almost an expert in, I can say. What are the ramifications? We know say he joined the C4C. We know the circumstances before he joined the C4C, or even before then. We know say previously he was the vice president of the country, and he got sacked in a dubious way, where damaged the credibility of the All People's Congress then, including the erstwhile leader, Dr. Anesbai Koroma. But they've smoked the peace pipe, they've made up, and there is nothing wrong in politics. You can find yourself in bed with strange fellows at the time they fell out, then don't make up, and it's forward marching. They have to go forward now, and going forward, Sam Sumana has left on good terms from Impati C4C, where he joined back in April of 2017, where he lead to elections victory in many respects, because they gained a couple of seats inside the House of Parliament. Now he don't come back to the party USA he belong, which is the All People's Congress, where he served for a while up to the point where he now being vice president. So he's come back. There are many rumors around that he might end up being the flag bearer for the party going into the 2023 elections. And you could see that many people are going to throw their hat in the ring as the time begins for approach. But this kind of move tells you most likely that, yes, this is his intention. You don't know which level this has been discussed, because for like abandon yonder based on waiting happened to Ram and come back to the party, there's something must be in the making in which people like us don't know. Okay. President Bio broke ground for constructions of the officers' mess na Mayong, and this cost about 7.2 million Chinese money. Okay. This is a good thing in itself, a mess, because the way they understand is dilapidated, and it need for be updated, and it need for be modern. I mean, if you want a modern army, you get a modern mess, and because that mess it means so much, to the institution. It's not just an ordinary building, an officer's mess. That's a big deal. So 7.2 million was given to President Bio by the Chinese government, in which that will go towards officer's mess. Okay, and the president don't broke grounds for that, and we know that is going to happen. We also hear about the construction of the Lunge Bridge, and we had a program in which we say this bridge here, from waiting we see, it's not going to happen, at least not now. Not now. And people talk about 2 billion. 2 billion, we can build us an entire new city. I was taken aback and surprised by many people I had great respect for, in which they went about this bridge business. Most of it was partisan, some of it was just short-sighted. 2 billion. Under the prevailing circumstances, who said 2 billion they come out? Even when they try to sell a project to us talking about FPP, I've forgotten the acronym for the kind of financial program that they will use to build the bridge. But it's not free money, you will have to pay back. How are you going to pay back? And even when they try to break that down to us, that wasn't really, adding up. The math's not been due. So, say it's not workable. It was big time propaganda. And pretty soon, we saw through it. Okay? We need the bridge, but we get other priorities. If we get 2 billion, there's much more that we can do with 2 billion. Even if now other people, because that was the argument, then they can build the bridge for we without them 2 billion, would they beg them? That bridge they lay with. Because if that bridge is not able to give we good returns, Let we forget about the debt paying. We are not supposed to do. But I just want to be theoretical for a moment. If the bridge will give you good returns, because how many people they cross the bridge? How many motorcar then apply that route today? How many people will able to generate money for get them? Over which period of time? So let we forget about that in the first place. Why should we go and build them if we know they get good returns from them? We go add up over a period of when. So now when the bridge not ready for broke back, now the 10 until they don't pay for themselves. Go down over. You're talking about 2 billion. So if we get people and we want can loan with 2 billion for build bridge alone, but let we tell them let them go build something else for we. Probably we can build an entire new city with 2 billion. That makes sense. Suddenly we don't begin to get an analyzer them, then country developer them, planning development people them, where we don't know whose project they don't develop one day. They're not able to show we no example. Yes, maybe they will have sat in a classroom and develop something or write something, write the thesis and the rest of it. But in a practical sense, where it is, where the evidence? None. So please. Okay? So another good thing will happen again, inside the December month is the Premier League in Sierra Leone, a particular club called Eastern Tigers, then do something way not really common. Then take the head coach where they appoint now woman, Victoria Conte. It's not big story. Again, we do one story about Aisha Johansson and this woman, Victoria Conte, about 45 years old. They can manage a top flight team in Sierra Leone. A woman, not common at all. So this was in itself not been big story and still not big story because it just happened recently. And honestly, just imagine we talk about Africa earlier. 1.6 billion people, 53 or 54 countries. Now only Ethiopia get a woman now the top flight as a manager. So another big thing we're having in the month of December. Now the visit of Idris Elba. Of course, then they're still fresh in our memory. Idris is a huge star. Did you hear the emphasis? Yeah, Dregam. That's what he is. Big star. Hollywood, Britain, yeah, you name it. Get some blockbuster movie them, A-block movie them. Yeah, and he's top of his game. And it happy for say, this young man is a Sierra Leonean, national. Of course, we just give him in nationality this BNTM, but in daddy na Sierra Leonean and in mama na Ghanaian. Okay, and the fact that I think that's what our law says, there's no restriction on that you daddy na a national, I believe so automatically you're entitled to the book. I won't go in there because this is something I don't understand very well. But however, when Idris visited Sierra Leone recently, around the December 20 and the rest of it, he met with President Bio. He was accorded Sierra Leonean nationality and issued with a Sierra Leonean passport. So effectively now, Idris Elba is now a Sierra Leonean. The visit been dubbed homecoming, and it been massive. The turnout for greet Idris been massive because remember the man, is a star, so it kind of attract crowd and be a big deal. So a visit day and make some promises, talk to people them. He actually mix with people them, show say himself, kind of local. He attempts for speak Creole, and in Creole not too bad because people go think say know nothing about Creole, which means that the man has kept, because Mr. Sefi surprised me, the man kept with his roots somehow. Because he did speak the guy, not just learn or do them start and they can quick for learn something when they go on side, but he spoke more than quite a few words. He showed some understanding for the language, showed some appreciation, for the country, because you could see him that he was genuinely, kind of happy. Of course, the government capitalized on this visit of this high-profile individual that hopefully he go able to attract investment into the country, especially in the field of tourism. That if he can visit there, other people and go follow suit. And hopefully, these are the in one make some significant investment na Sierra Leone, we go be good for the country. I understand back that he raised the profile of the chimpanzee sanctuary in Taguma. So then they alone, and I make us say within the tourism sector, that will be a good thing in itself for the country. And Idris will be or is expected to invest na Salone. Absolutely. And we look forward to that. Okay. The court na Sierra Leone, remember say there was a ban by government of pregnant school girl them. Then say the court now West Africa ruled against that, say it unlawful for ban picking them, school girl them, because they're pregnant. That in itself is discriminatory. Remember when they go school, where people and pregnant, either then siphon them off school, full, and the rest of it, because that was a big issue. And then up to now, they say student enough for they go school, we then peer them instead and go put in a special school. A court now West Africa rule out, say no, that's unlawful. That's abusing their human rights and it's discriminatory practice. And then they ask that they Salone revoke that law, the ASAP, because it's not correct. It's an affront and a violation of the African Charter on human rights. But the court in jurisdiction now also I talk another tap, it not get no impact or no enforcement power than na Salone. So we will see in the coming months how this play out, whether the government will continue for ignore, because not the first time this they happen anyway. It don't happen before a few years ago, and the government ignore that call there because the government does believe that pregnant picking them with non-pregnant picking them, they attend the same school, sit inside the same class, go have a negative effect on their peers. That's government's belief. Now, I make government say no. If you don't get pregnant, you need for going to a special school. That's quite a debatable topic and a very hot topic. And at for no usa you did, the case has to be made on both sides, because they became pregnant and they can't sit down with becoming not pregnant. Will that influence negatively the becoming not pregnant inside classroom? Does taking the pregnant one them away and organizing a special classes for them or special school for them, is it really discriminatory? Does it not make sense that they sit among themselves, and learn better? Anyway, that's up for the courts to decide. But waiting, we know that a court in West Africa say the ban on pupils, schoolgirl them we pregnant, not for attend classes with accompany them, is discriminatory and you need for stop ASAP. The government may not reject this notion once, not to the first time, then they rule on that. We will see again what the BO government will do. Okay? And this may happen specifically 4 years ago. That was under the APC government. This is now under the BO government, SLPP government. We see what happens, whether they're going to allow for separate schools to be set up and all the human rights opportunities. Then when they talk about whether this government, go sort of go the other way other than the encompassing. Yes, Sister Frederica Crispina Johnson, Happy New Year to you and your family as well. Thank you very much. Let me see. We're coming to the end of the program. I'm on December now. I'm just wrapping December. Let me see if I can bring... There's something definitely wrong with the system. It's not allowing me to invite. No, super. It's not allowing me to invite. Yeah. Definitely. I can see it from the application at the bottom here. Yeah. It's not allowing me, unfortunately. So, happen again, we make people and begin for panic and afraid. Almost reminiscent of the Ebola situation. You remember when one Dutch doctor died from Lassa fever. Then Britain begin for repatriate in cities in them. And he asked for let in cities in not travel, go na Salone. And especially them parts they also they identify this Lassa fever. And because back again and they begin effect upon the country, Britain being for come out and say no, just precautionary measure that now we take. So basically, this doctor, we now being a Dutch guy from Holland, he died from Lassa fever in a salon, and people really begin panic because that sparked the fear for an outbreak, and we begin to remember back, Ebola and the problem we been caused. But fortunately, things look a little bit quiet, not as bad as was anticipated. So that was one fearful news in December, despite all the festivities. Okay. I talked earlier on about my friend who I've been getting conversation with regarding economic growth. We've been telling me about economic growth, about IMF. IMF does projections. I can't repeat this more than I can. I been telling me about 10 months. 10 months don't pass. So now the last 2 months, now no more, they not can account for. No, it doesn't work that way. And to say they work. So we know say in 2018, the economy slowed down, it contract. So we expect 3.8% growth, and I think it was just about that or even below. And then 2018, 2019, this projection about the growth about 4.8% or 5.1%. But then you get for see who side the growth get for come out. Now I make no projection. If it works, then of course you will see the growth. If it doesn't, then of course. So you get unforeseen circumstances. Iron ore production, the price suddenly could dip. If for done, due to unforeseen circumstances, an outbreak of pestilence, disease, and the rest of it can all be the cause of all of that. Wise man Staffy, welcome to the program. So